This video will show you how to replace the rear door latch on a Cadillac CTS. This will be mounted to your rear door. Let's get into it. Just a quick note about doing this job, you will need to have your window in the fully upright position. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. We're removing the door panel. So we're starting up along our door lock knob on the upper outer corner. If you were looking closely at this, you can see that you do have a square locking tab here. I'm using a small angled pick to get inside of this groove. I'll carefully start pulling it out. Once you pull out on that locking tab, you should be able to lift up on that knob. Just a quick inspection of that, we'll set it aside. We're making our way down towards the inside door handle next. We're going to remove this plastic panel. To remove this, I'm using a plastic trim tool. I'll just make my way right along the front area here. I'm going to start prying it away. Now, as I start prying it away, I'm going to have to pull on that handle. We'll give this a wiggle. It should want to break free. We can rotate it and slide it out of place. Just a quick inspection of that panel, of course, and we'll set that aside for now. Now let's move down towards our grab handle. Looking in and behind this area, you can see that we have an oval port. It has a cover. This actually has 4 locking tabs. It's fairly easy to pry out of place. We're just going to use our pocket screwdriver. You can see those locking tabs. We'll set that aside. With that cover out of the way, as you look inside this area, you're going to find that you have 2 Phillips head screws. Let's remove the pair. Use our Phillips head for this. Just going to use a magnet to take hold of that. Now we'll continue on with our plastic trim tool. We're going to go in between the door panel and the door and start separating it. I'm making my way down from one side along the bottom. We'll continue on pulling it away. But up along the top, you're going to find that the panel actually has to be lifted up to be removed. Let's use our trim tool here, make our way in between. There we are. Remove the door panel from the vehicle. A quick inspection will set this aside. Now that we have the door panel out of the way, we're going to have to make our way inside of this area, so I'm going to remove this metal panel. To remove the metal panel, I like to start by removing the electrical wiring harness from its mounting point. I'm just going to slide it right off of this mounting stud. If you have a hard time doing that by hand, you can use a small prying device. We'll use a 10mm for each mounting nut, so we can slide this panel out of the way. Continuing on, we're going to be removing a portion of our vapor barrier. We have to make our way inside of this area. So with that said, as we look through the clear vapor barrier, you can see the adhesive. It's butyl tape, and it's going to be extremely sticky. Just keep that in mind. Don't get it on your skin or your clothing. We're going to, of course, be reusing this, so we don't want to cause any damage. Just start pulling it away. If you need to, you could use a razor blade to break it free. Just be careful not to actually rip anything here. Now continuing on, we're going to have to gain access to some hardware. Most of it's going to be out in the open, inside of this area, but there is one piece that's easiest to remove through this circular port. We have a protective cover, so let's go ahead and remove that. You can use pretty much anything as a prying device for this. I'm just using a trim tool because it does have a small angle to it. Helps me pry. Now with that small plug out of the way, we're going to be making our way inside of this port. As I make my way in here, this is what I'm looking for. We can see that we have a yellow connector. Just take hold of it with an angled pick. We'll pull that out of place. Dislodge the rod from that area. Just a quick inspection of that rod. It doesn't look like it's rotted or damaged in any way. So now we're going to continue on. This rod right here makes its way all the way to the inside door handle. Let's make our way there next. So let's just continue on dislodging that vapor barrier a little further here. We can see where the rod goes through this plastic locking tab. It's fairly simple. Just take hold of that. You can pop it out of place. And we'll slide this out of the way. You're going to find that you have a 10mm bolt holding the inside door handle in place. Go ahead and remove that bolt. Now we'll take hold of the handle. We're going to slide it to the left, or what would be considered forward if the door was shut. That unlocks the locking tabs holding this to the door. At this point, we're going to pivot this. This rod actually has a small hooked end that slides through this orange connector portion. Let's go ahead and slide this off of here. We can hold onto the rod, slide the handle off. There's the hook. There's our handle. We can set that aside for now. We'll pull the rod out of the vapor barrier. Let that hang. Now as we make our way this way, you're still going to have a rod attached to the latch on the inside. This is for the door lock rod. It's easiest to dislodge this and the electrical connector that's located inside of the door approximately here once we have the latch dislodged from the door itself. So with that said, let's make our way along here. For each of our 3 mounting bolts, we're going to be using a T30 Torx. It's essentially shaped like a star. I'm going to fully remove my first bolt. I'll give it a quick inspection and then just start it back in a couple threads. After that, we'll remove each of the other 2. There's that bolt. Now I'm going to reach inside of the door all the way over to my latch. I'll be holding onto it while I remove my final mounting bolt. After I remove that, we're going to start pulling the latch out of here, but keep in mind we do still have the door lock rod and our electrical connector. We'll remove the rod and the electrical connector from the latch once we have it out of position. Now at this point, we can remove each of the 2 rods and the electrical connector. As for the rods, just make sure that you know exactly which one goes where and the orientation in which they came through. We'll start with the rod that would lead to the inside door handle. We'll slide that right out of there. Now we can make our way to the door lock rod. We can pivot that, slide that out as well. After removing each of those 2 rods, it's time for our electrical connector. Now, if you were looking at this electrical connector up along the top of the latch assembly, you're going to find that there's a flat area. We're going to be using this to pry upward. So I'm using a small pocket screwdriver. I'll go up against the connector, pull on that locking tab. As I do so, you can see that this electrical connector pulls away. A quick inspection for corrosion. This looks good, and there it is, friend. Prior to installing our part, let's make sure we clean and inspect our mounting area. For this, I'm going to use a clean rag, and I'm just going to use some glass cleaner. You can use whatever you'd like. Make sure nothing's rotted or weak. This looks good. Okay, let's get ready to install the door latch. Before we get this inside of the door, the first thing I'm going to do is install my rods, and then I'm going to continue on to my electrical connector. After that, we'll get it in place. So I'm starting with my upper rod here. This is the one that is for the door lock knob. It's going to go through this upper port, slide it through. This is the way that it would be angled in the vehicle. Of course, if it hangs down now, that's okay. We can readjust it in the end. Let's make our way down towards where the next rod will go, right through this port. As far as this rod, we have it so we know exactly which side goes through. We're using the hooked end. We're bringing it through the same corresponding side. This is looking good. Now, if this was in the vehicle, this is exactly how this would have to look. This larger rod that we just installed leads to the inside door handle. This upper rod, once again, is just for the door lock knob. Let's continue on to our electrical connector. As far as our electrical connector, as you remember, the locking tab would be facing up. So we're pressing it in. You're going to find it only goes in so far until you start pressing down on that locking tab. As I press that down, the rest goes in, and of course, we're making sure it's secured in place. We don't want to have any movement from that. Now let's install that door latch into the door. We're going to align it so we can install our 3 mounting bolts. As we start bringing this through, we need to have our door lock rod making its way up and through the corresponding port. So I'm reaching inside, I'll pull it through, and we'll continue on aligning this latch. Try to find that port. If the rubber plug decides it wants to make its way out, that's okay. We can just reinsert that. It's really not very difficult. Just press it in as needed. Okay. So now as we start bringing the door latch in position, we need to make sure that this area for the child lock is accessible. After that, all 3 mounting bolts on the outboard side. Start them in and then snug them up. Double check to make sure the latch does not move around in any way. All 3 pieces of hardware need to be properly secured in place. Now before we go any further, let's take hold of the door lock rod. We're going to make sure it functions as it should. You can see inside the door there. Also, we want to make sure it's in the proper orientation. It is aiming up where it needs to be. After that, I'm just looking on the inside. We can see our wiring harness. Confirm it's in the proper placement. If it's getting caught when you're trying to maneuver the door lock rod, that's going to be an issue. And if that's the case, you may have to readjust that door latch and then reinstall it once you have everything in the proper placement. Assuming it's good, let's just continue on. Now we're still inside the door. We're paying attention to the rod that leads to our outside door handle. That's going to swing into place on our yellow connector. We're not lifting up or down. Once we have it pressed in, we'll lock it in with that yellow locking tab, which is part of the connector. Here we are. Once you feel as though you have it pressed in, just give it a quick wiggle. We want to make sure it's properly secured. We don't want that falling off while we're driving down the road. Let's continue on to our next rod. So we're going to take this portion of the inside door handle rod. We're sliding it through our vapor barrier. It's just going through the port where you had originally removed it from. Now we can pull that vapor barrier over. We will have to secure our rod, but for now, let's reinstall the inside handle first. As far as the inside door handle, we're going to start with it at this angle. We'll bring the rod along this area. Now I'm going to be sliding the end of the rod through my orange connector portion there. It's just that circular port. Now we'll gently twist this as needed. Continuing on, we're going to pull this what would be forward or to the left on this door. Now I'm pressing it towards the door, all the way up against, sliding it what would be rearward or to the right on this door, and continue on to my 10mm mounting bolt. Let's double check to make sure that's secured, and we'll continue on to the rod placement. Now as far as the rod, as we can tell, I'm just a little bit above it here, so I'm just going to lightly tug, line it up, press it in, audible click, and of course, make sure it's secure. Let's reinstall our protective plug on our circular port. Line it up, press it in. Just one last quick inspection while we're in this area, and we can reinstall our vapor barrier. This looks good. So we'll just start getting this in place. Now, of course, you can see where all of that sticky butyl tape was located previously. That's where I'm attempting to line it with now. We want to try to press this back into the original position. You can see that there are a few mounting studs. We'll just make sure we have those lined up, press through. Just make sure it's stuck all the way around. Let's get this metal panel in place. We're sliding it over all 4 of our mounting studs. When you do have it in place, start on all 4 of your 10mm headed mounting nuts. After they're all started on, snug them up. We'll secure our wiring harness in the proper placement. Just press it on there. It's time to reinstall the door panel. As far as the door panel is concerned, there's a couple things to focus on when we bring this into place. Up along the top, you have a small metal ridge that'll fit along this area next to your window. As we make our way down along the center of the door panel, we have the electrical connector that will go into this portion on the door, which is also an electrical connector. The two slide together. You're going to find you have locating tabs and locking tabs. Those will fit into their corresponding ports, and then we'll just tap this in. With that said, let's start up along the top. We're coming up nice and high so we can bring that ridge down into the proper placement. I always like to make sure I can gain access to my door lock rod. We're just going to tap this down. We'll take a quick peek in this area. We need to make sure that everything's aligned, and then we're going to press it in towards the door just as I mentioned. Okay, everything looks like it's aligned, so I'm going to start pressing this in. This is feeling good. A couple light taps here. Let's go all the way around the door, and of course double check to make sure it's properly secured in place. With the door panel properly pressed in place, let's look just underneath our grab handle. We need to install our 2 Phillips head screws and then install the protective panel. The screws are the same. You don't have to worry about mixing them up. Start them in, snug them up. Let's go ahead and install our plastic panel. Line it up, press it in. We'll make our way towards the inside door handle. Let's install our trim panel. We're bringing the handle through the slot on the trim panel there. Let's press it in towards the door panel. There we are. Listen for an audible click from that. Make sure it's secured in place. Now it's time for the door lock knob. We have it in the unlocked position. We're going to align it with our door lock rod. Start sliding it down. Now as we slide it down, it can only go so far while it's in the locked position. With it being rested in this position, press in the lock. Go ahead and test that door lock real quick, leaving it in the unlocked position. Now let's test the outside door handle in comparison to the door latch to confirm it functions properly prior to shutting the door. So with that said, I'm going to be using a screwdriver, using this as the striker which will be attached to the body of the vehicle. If I was to shut the door, the latch thinks that it's in the closed position. Now if you were to try to open the door with it in the closed position, it should not release. I'm holding pressure. While I hold pressure on this, I'm going to pull on the outside handle. As you can see, it did release. Let's repeat that. That's in the closed position. I'm holding pressure, does not release, and then it does when I pull the handle. And now we also want to test the inside door handle. Of course, first of all, you want to make sure that the child's safety lock is in the off position. Let's try that one more time. The latch thinks it's in the locked or closed position. Pull our handle, and it does release. This is exactly what we need to see. Now let's go ahead and close the door and reopen it. Perfect. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.